Hello, hello. Can you hear me, Tanya?
I sure can. Can you hear me?
Cool. I can. Thank you for. Oh, that cow looks weird. Oh well. I just yeah. Anyway, sorry. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Morbid Symptoms. This is our weekly, or try to be weekly, sex, gender ID, war, quote unquote. What is Big Sister gaslighting now? Update with my special guest host Tanya from an undisclosed location somewhere on this
Somewhere.
planet we call Earth. How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. How are you?
Oh, crazy, but hi. I don't know what I swear to God, I don't know what happens. I'm in my house, and for some reason, I literally always lose track of time, it seems. And all of a
Oh,
sudden, I'm like, ah. And you can see I still haven't colored my roots. I'm hopeful to do that today. I've actually bought the color, so I'm hopeful that I
you gonna
can
get rid of the
use
salt
it.
and pepper?
Huh?
It suits you, the salt and pepper.
No,
I like it.
no. How dare you?
I was trying to do salt and pepper, but then I realized I was all salt and it wasn't pepper anymore. So
It's all salt and no pepper. Oh, you're pretty spicy. Let me get this live stream
oh
starting
yeah.
soon thing down. One day I'll be able to make one of my kids do this backstage stuff for me.
Yes, put them to work, hey?
Always like, what's
Little elves.
happening? Uh, although, why is this so hard? Banner, that's what I want. That's what it's called. Go away. Go away. Here we go. All right. So, yes, this is our sex gender ID war. What is Big Sister's gaslighting now? Weekly update with Tara and Tanya, TNT. Boop, boop. Um, yes. And let's see. So this week, the main things we're gonna talk about or go over is the crazy gender self ID law that's coming into effect. I think November 1st in Germany. We're gonna do a bit of We'll click on the four food groups or the four cray or the four things that this idea that of and policy and practice now of gender ID or self ID, what it means for women and girls sports, prisons, and how it corrupts or turns institutions quite stupid,
Yeah.
etc. The UN makes another entry into
Yeah.
the annals of the sex gender ID war. I want to be where you are. Look how cozy it is. Look how cozy it is.
It's cold.
Yeah.
It was really, really, really hot for a long time.
Mhm.
And then all of a sudden it's cold. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's just changed. Now it's truly fall and it feels like fall. So I'm glad it looks cozy. I'm finally not cold. You hustle
Mhm.
and you go, oh, where are all the winter clothes? Where are all the winter blankets?
Mhm.
But yeah, I'm not, yeah, it's cozy. And it looks cozy and it
Because
is
we still rent here. I don't know. I mean, because when we first shifted to the UK, the idea was we're just going to be here for a couple of years, and then it's just kept on going. And so it's just, but the housing prices here are insane. So, but when you rent, they're really, I don't know. It wasn't like this when I rented before in the States. Um, because they're very crazy about you can't put anything on the wall. Like you have to get a written permission if you want to have anything, and so it'd be fine if they at least had one or two hooks or something on the wall in the rooms, but it's really like,
it's inhumane. Like, why can't you put things on your wall?
yeah,
That's
especially when you
ridiculous,
get how much the rent costs here. It's insane. But it's like, what, we can't
right?
put one thing on. And of course I let the kids put one or two things on, but then whenever, and also they check the house twice a year
They
just to make
do.
sure, I don't know, you're not a drug den or something. And so then
They
it's okay, take everything
do.
off, everything off.
Are they allowed to do that?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. And well,
Well,
just, I mean, it's just kind of, I just was like, yeah, but it is what it is. So that's why it's so Spartan, because I mean, when the house that we had in Holland, it was just like, it was, as you can imagine, I had lots of stuff going on. But here it's just like, woo, I should get
yeah,
a
yeah.
plant or something. This is also, if you saw over there, you'd see all like the Christmas stuff and
Oh, that's so
5
nice.
sizes of clothes.
Oh, that's nice. No, I like it Spartan. I like it clean like that. I mean, there's nothing I can do about this room being the way it is, so we just filled it up with because we've got stuff. That's all. Oh yeah, what's going on here?
This looks stupid. So at some point, I'll get something.
I like the door.
Once we get some more sponsors or patrons, whatever they're called, I'll maybe I'll invest in a green screen, and then I can have all kinds of things going on.
Oh, I like the white walls. It's so nice light, nice walls.
Nice.
Oh, I like it.
Anyway, enough of my decor. I'm sure people didn't tune in to hear about my gripes about being a renter in the former once great empire. Anyway, so anyway, yes, let's get started here. I'm really happy about my my thumbnail for this. I'm like, can I put more on it?
Right.
But I was happy. Yeah.
Awesome. Everything that needs to be there.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. And this is the thing is that I don't know if this is the only like one issue thing I've been a part of. Maybe I don't know, because of course unions are a bit different. But the idea that there's one thing that binds all of us together, for those of us who are on the sex side of the sex gender ID war, identity war, is that a woman is an adult human female, a man is an adult human male, a girl is a child human female, a boy is a child human male. Transition is rhetorical, it's aesthetic, kind of. Right. Anyway, just things to keep in mind. That's it. It's not about hate.
No.
It's not about being mean, but I will be mean if I have to. If the hate, if the truth and reason and logical boundaries are hateful to you, that's a you problem, not a we problem.
That's right. Yeah, I think I'm quite nice. I don't think I'm, but in real life I'm nice, but yeah, I can't be nice to. I can't be nice. Yeah, craziness. No.
Yeah.
Too
and just the fact that we have to be very careful about what we say in and around these obvious facts, or else we could be, canceled, banned, get nasty messages from YouTube, etc.
Yeah. I'm gonna. Really
but what can we do? I mean, we'll try our best.
I'll try to convey the feeling with my eyes, right? Like when I'm saying a man.
Yeah. Like this. Yeah, we can maybe we'll do Tims. We'll do Tims for people people with Y chromosomes who, for whatever reason, we'll call them Tims.
Trans-identifying males.
Yeah, trans-identifying males, Tims.
And
anyway, so I just want to say that this is just kind of a theme that I'll take from progressive misogyny, kind of an overall theme or meta theme for our sex gender ID war updates, is that gender ideology always destroys the core functions of organizations that take it seriously. So you get hospitals that mutilate healthy kids, you get rape crisis centers that re-traumatize women, you get women's sports regulators admitting men, schools are educating children, basically giving the idea that, have you thought about your gender identity?
Right.
There's so many options. You don't have to be worried about your biology. Not that all these teachers are California Valley Girl women, but whatever. There's probably a few.
They turn into them once they start
censuses count the wrong people. We have, violent crimes, especially violent crimes, sex-based crimes that males are doing that somehow now can be categorized as female crimes because of they just say, I'm a Tim.
Yeah.
We'll change. And I was thinking about this because this is how old I am, Tanya, is that when I was in college, and by college in the States, that's right after high school. So some people say college, some people say university, but I know in some countries those are different things, college and university, but in the States they're basically the same, as far as I know. So when I was in college and I was like, oh, what am I going to take? And I remember I took Intro to Women's Studies. And I'm just saying
Nice.
that's how old I was, because it wasn't gender studies, then it was women's studies.
Yeah, yeah.
And I remember you get this kind of overview, obviously, of obviously women's studies have a feminist, I guess, framework, you would say, whatever the word is now.
Yeah.
And if someone had told me then, I'm trying to think back myself, it's told me then that the biggest issue I'd be spending time with in and around women and gender, which then was just another word for sex, or to refer to the norms and practices that were associated with men or women, boys or girls, that we'd be talking about this, I would have been like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be so science fiction.
I know. Nobody believes it. Nobody believes it.
I think some people do, though. That's the thing. Some people do believe it. They
They
do.
believe it. But even still, did they suspect that one day they would be
They believe that a girl's brain can end up in a boy's body and vice versa. Some people believe that.
I guess. But I mean, when you're a child, do you think someday I'm going to grow up and believe things that are impossible?
Yeah.
Like the 6 impossible things before breakfast. Like, oh, someday when I get older, my brain will be big. So I will get, my brain will be bigger and I'll be able to believe more and more impossible things.
And so our first thing in terms of that's why I had a method to my madness. Why I brought up how gender ideology destroys the core functions of organizations that take it seriously and really produces some just, I don't know, structural stupidity. I mean, maybe I don't know what to call it. So here's one thing. And speaking of Big Sister, so what is Big Sister telling us this week? That there's no one way to be a lesbian.
Right.
Now, here I thought there was only one way to be a lesbian, but apparently that's wrong.
Well, I mean, what are they suggesting?
And look at those shoulders on that guy.
Yeah, kidding. I mean, are they suggesting that, before they came out with this, sorry, I'm getting a phone call, even though I told everybody not to call me at this time.
It's all right. Hey, man, we are a shoestring out of love operation here. So if people want to get upset that a phone's buzzing in between, what can we do?
Like, as if we ever thought that being a one-legged, asymmetrical haircut, sporting woman meant that you couldn't be a lesbian. Oh, no, not you.
No.
You need to have 2 legs. You need to have, balanced hair. Sorry, you can't. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
And what kind of old school pirate fake leg is that? I mean, it's like a peg leg.
Toilet funnel.
I mean, I guess, because this person's up, because this is giving like a nice, they're kind of like hanging out at a nice place, got the beach, and someone can afford that and going on a peg leg.
Oh my God.
I hope that's not politically incorrect to say peg leg. Is it?
It's not a very good prosthetic. Come on. Can't call that a prosthetic. That's totally yeah.
I mean, that's I mean, they can't even free. I mean, so free UN free and equal, because I guess whatever. So today is International Lesbian Day. The lesbian community is incredible and diverse. Lesbians have many gender expressions, body types, and sex characteristics. Ooh. They are also of any race, ethnicity, class, or background. Really? Duh. Today we celebrate all of them. Now, in terms of there being one way to be a lesbian, that you're a woman who's sexually attracted to women, I mean, that's the one thing. That's what a lesbian is. Yeah. Anything else is extra fine. But yeah, I mean, not that you don't know that, but I have to say that this was fantastic. And if you have a chance, people, and if you're on X or Twitter, go check out the comments, because the women and the LGB without the TQ plus business were on it.
Terfs are awesome.
They're peaked. Really, they're like, F this bleep. Loving it. Right. Here for it. Totally. And also a community. It was community noted, thank God. Although the community notes can be obviously gamed, as anyone who's watching, anyway, I'm not going to mix issues here. So someone community noted the UN free and equal campaign or post or whatever, The term lesbian refers to a female who's attracted to other females. The definition, as most definitions are, by the way, is intentionally specific, because an unspecific definition isn't really that useful. But that's another story. We're not going to get into the postmodern queer theory wackadoodles. As it describes female homosexuality, and it's not meant to be broad or diverse.
Right.
And this is so important. This idea that everything has to be broad and diverse to where everything's included. It's like, no.
More
Sometimes,
people to
sometimes you need, there's some things are specific, some things are discrete.
Yeah.
It's not all social construction, but even if it is, not all social constructions are equal. And they change over time for a reason, not always for the better, as we can see.
Right.
But yeah. And this is quite the ratio, because at this point, when I clipped this, I clipped this yesterday, or was it? Yeah. I don't know when I did, but it had 1.3 million views, whatever that means. So I guess time-wise, it's popped up in.
Yeah.
But it's been liked 449 times, but commented on 2.1. So there's another indication that either, especially on X, probably not so much on what is that crap called? Meta and
I don't even know them.
Facebook, whatever. So, but on X/Twitter, the people who are on the sex side of the sex gender ID war/struggle, we're kicking it. It used to be quite the opposite, but then we were afraid to say anything, or either you were kicked off already, or you knew if you said something as banal as no, only women can be lesbians, right. And within that category, only women who are attracted to other women are actually lesbians, or bisexual women.
Yeah,
and anyway, and if that upsets some dude who wants to get his freak on, don't care. Not about you, bro.
No. People are gonna have to.
You can go have your parties someplace. You can go do that someplace else. Leave the lesbians alone.
Yeah, and it's nice to stretch out in our kind of brains and be able to say, no, don't be ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just bad for you to have to keep lying to yourself and read things and go, oh, I don't really agree, but I can't say, right? So it's good to come and comment on this nonsense. I'm trying not to get us kicked off. I'm trying to use only nice words now. Speaking of restraining oneself, trying not to let go and tell you what I really think of the queerini who took over at the UN, because they infiltrate everything and they make a big noise and everyone just kind of stands there aghast, I guess.
Lets them do it, get away with it.
Them do it. I'm pretty sure that the UN hasn't made any kind of big moves to decide that, men are actually women. But, I think women should write into the UN to Reem al-Salam all the time and write in and keep saying, hello, I'm a woman and I support you. If you have a women's group, keep writing to her. Keep telling her that we're here. She's doing a great job. She needs to hear more from us, all of us. Get that communication going. Right? Because I guarantee you, all the what am I calling them? All the genderists,
gendermentalists.
Yes, they're making a lot of noise, right? And the rest of us are all just sitting here going, what? What do you mean you don't know what a woman is? You don't know what a lesbian is? We're all on the back foot. And they're out there making a lot of noise and getting a lot of attention and taking over every single cause, like that progressive misogyny said, taking over every single thing that they touch, because the rest of us are just like, what's going on?
Yeah, no, it's true. So let's see. What do we want to talk about first? Here's the theme for food groups: gender ID and self ID in particular, but both steals women and girls sports. And just so people who might not know about the Stasi symbol, I tried to this is like the trans Stasi, or the what would you call it? Yeah, the
transy.
But anyway, these are the people who are really out to make sure that there are no boundaries to people, to Tims, basically. No boundaries for Tims. That's their thing. And if you have a problem with this, oh, they'll come for you, baby. They'll come
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah. Sure will.
So even though the Stasi, I think, was more like secret, like turning people in and listening and whatnot, although there are people who obviously will pour through people's social media posts or whatever to find stuff. But it's kind of, tongue in cheek, but not really. So that's what that is. So they aren't just asking or suggesting. It's like, be kind, go along with this, or else.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
either if there's laws in place that that equate or make somebody's gender identity a protected characteristic, as they say, or something that you can't that you're not supposed to discriminate against.
Right.
So they can get you in terms of law, which we saw with women who have been trying to say, no, my business or this space is for women only. And then you have Tims to be like, I'm a woman and you're discriminating against me. And then
Right.
if there's laws on the books that haven't, with Tickle versus Giggle, we see that the law oftentimes, or the judge will interpret the law to be like, no, sorry, people who say they're women, you can't exclude them
Right.
if they're male, sorry,
It's
which is
true.
crazy. But in
Crazy.
terms of sports, let's see, what do we have here? So here's one, and I might play this video, although my internet seems like it's doing okay today. Brandy Cruz, I don't know who this is, but anyway, she posted this on X. Here's a 14-year-old Annalie. She lost a track meet in Washington State to a boy. Listen to her tell her story to a stunned room of 500 plus adults. I challenge any lawmaker who supports such policies to meet with Annalie and tell her why. To her
Right.
face, I can arrange. And we're seeing more of this slowly. So when for women who decide, okay, this is enough. So what's her name? The young woman who had to compete against William Leah Thomas. Yeah.
Yeah, a bunch of them.
And there's more people who are coming out and going to either like local government, state government, or federal government committees or whatever, and telling their story to say, so that they say, like, look, to you, this might just seem that it's nice to, like, okay, if someone has a gender identity that doesn't match their sex, it's fine, whoever. But here's the real harm that this nonsense creates for actual people.
Yeah.
Yeah, not just us mean ladies who,
No.
want to make Tims cry.
Oh. People think that this is just about girls being selfish, but girls get all these opportunities because of sport. They get scholarships to university. They get, I mean, I don't know, it depends probably what country you live in, but they get jobs. They travel the world because of sport. Every single boy or man in a sport is taking a place, even if he loses, even if he's the worst competitor on the team, he's taking the place away from a female who's entitled to be there.
Well, and it makes people have to deal with incongruency. It makes people like Big Sister was telling us last week about how the unsaid matters, that to not believe your eyes and ears and evolution and instincts and all that stuff, to go along with the fact that this person that or unless you've unless you've lost that, unless you've been big sistered too much,
Totally.
you have to go along with this. It's demoralizing. It's just crazy. And for what? For what? Because no one wants to tell, sorry, Skippy, you don't get to play on the girls' team. If you want to wear a dress, cool. You want to grow your hair out, cool. You want to change your name, whatever.
Yeah, we don't care.
But there are boundaries, and you don't get to play on the girls' team. Cry harder. Get used to dealing with not getting what you want. Builds character, baby.
Right? And they don't just play on the girls' team; they change with the girls. They're changing with your daughters, right?
Oh, because because this is how it gets. Because if they get to be on the team, then how are you gonna be like, okay, you can play, but you can't. But we're going to exclude you, or we're going to discriminate against you when it comes to where you change your clothes, because people have forgotten that discrimination in and of itself is not always bad.
No.
You need to discriminate. If we didn't discriminate, we would die.
Right. So now you're telling your daughter, we're telling our daughter,
Everything that's alive or discriminates either consciously or just kind of like,
right?
the
No, I mean,
stuff, any kind of species that needs to do anything or needs to avoid certain things discriminates.
of course,
Hello.
of course. Of course. And now we're teaching young women, our girls, we're teaching them from an early age that they have to be the victims of a sex crime, because voyeurism, they have to be these victims. They have to be willing victims. They can't complain. They can't fight back. They have to just sit there and pretend it's all okay. There's a man changing in the swimming pool changing room with a bunch of girls. He's naked. We're naked. No problem, because he's got a lipstick. He's wearing lipstick. That's okay then. All okay. Forget it. Nothing to see here. Yeah,
my favorite thing for people who just don't want to deal with it or just like being dicks, or especially where women and girls are concerned, like it's called a bathroom. How does the bathroom work in your house? I don't want to these people. I'm like, do the bathroom and changing rooms, are they like public in your house? Can anyone come in and use them? And what's going on? I'm not barging in when one of my kids is using the bathroom or vice versa.
No kidding. Like, what kind of strange family
I mean, it's
is
crazy. That? It's like if I'd have serious issues if my now 18-year-old son and my husband when we're just like whenever they wanted to just going into the girls' room or just going into the bathroom, I'd be like, no, you don't get to go and do whatever you need to do when someone's in the. I mean, and they don't. So don't get me wrong, but it's just crazy.
No,
People are just stupid.
Yeah, that's
and they just like to rag. They just like to rag on what's it's people who like to what we call the woke bros. Who like to use this as an opportunity to say things to women and girls that normally would be frowned upon presently, or they just think it's funny, or they don't, they haven't thought it through. Whatever it is, it's just like seriously. And how can they explain this stuff? And the people love to go after Riley Gaines when she posts stuff on the internet or the internet. And some of that may be because, she's a conservative. She supports Trump. She's, all this stuff. And I don't know if that's the reason why. It probably is that some of whenever she's posting stuff on this, that you get some woke bro do like, this bee loses one time and now she won't stop bitching about it.
Right.
It's like, you know what? And then if you say something against their BS, like, like right wing, whatever. It's like I'm right wing. Shut up. Whatever. Of course, what do they mean? I don't know. So it's of course like if saying that gender ID is completely subjective and should be and that it's crazy that it's being codified in law and policy and all this crazy stuff. If that makes me right wing, then I'm right wing. No, suck it. I don't care.
Says who though? I mean, no, really, who really cares? Honestly, if they're going to define the terms like that, then whatever. Let them go to town, boys. Really.
Yeah. Anywho, or my favorites, like, oh, you're a materialist, you're use Marxist political economy, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, you're an idealist, yo. There's nothing more fun. There's nothing more no more extreme form of radical subjective idealism. Sorry to go philosophical here, than this stuff.
No, it's not. It's totally metaphysical. Nothing changes except your bloody lipstick. Nothing changes. Like literally nothing changes. It's not possible to change. Words mean nothing. I don't know what's happened to people. I really don't. Are we all stupider because I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
It's like, what does it matter? Like, what does it matter? We shouldn't discriminate it. And like, we should be like, everything is self-declared now. Your citizenship, your income. Why should I have to let the government or whoever know how much money I make? I should be able to self-declare my income. I should be able to declare my address, my nationality, everything, my age, my weight, whatever. Why have medical tests? I don't need that. I'll self-identify what my cholesterol level is, what my blood type is, because screw you. Who are you to tell me? Or whatever.
Why do I have to count my age by rotations of the earth around the sun? I don't want to. I'm going to, today I feel like
that rule.
Right? No kidding. That doesn't make any sense. Today I identify as 21.
Hmm.
No, actually, I feel smart. Today I'm 120. So ridiculous. And yet I'm the one who doesn't understand what material means, material reality. I'm the one
Yeah.
who's
Yeah. So there's another thing that ILGA, who knows what they are, but they're pissed about
oh,
sex testing. Or there's so well they call it the sex test, but basically what a sex test is for sports is it's just a swab. So you
right.
open up your mouth, they take the little swab, get some cells, some cheek cells, and then they can see.
Mm,
And that's their way of protecting, discriminating, making sure that only women are in the women's category.
right.
All right. Now, well, this organization's like trans, gender diverse, whatever that means, and intersex. Oh my God. Again with the intersex.
Right.
Transgender, diverse, and intersex inclusion in sports is a human right. No, it's not. Sign this collective
Intersex.
statement, share it widely. So they're pissed about
Right.
organizations that want to reinstate. So I think this was common practice for a long time, as far as I'm
Yeah,
aware,
it's
well, a
just
long time.
yeah,
Not that
yeah,
there's
yeah.
been women's sports with that, at this level for ever, but
No.
it was typical, yeah. Um, Now, and here's the same thing. So it's like if you are a man who has an intersex condition, and again, we do this bullshit. These are two separate issues.
Totally.
Now, everything that we have in our body can develop incorrectly, okay? Or there can be what they call disorders from your and the sexual reproductive system is no different.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So there are certain what they call intersex disorders or disorders of sexual development that cause there to be abnormalities or conditions either
Right.
to the external genitalia or internal sexual reproductive equipment that we have. It does not mean that you're not male or female or some
Yeah.
sort of third, fourth, or fifth. Not every intersex condition is another sex, you absolute morons.
Yeah,
And
totally.
I think they know this. They just like to throw it up. Like you're denying these intersex people. It's like, no, I'm not. And also,
Years.
and as far as I'm aware, and I'm not an expert in this because I'm not a sports doctor or whatever it is, but there's people who looked into this that said, um, most of the people with intersex conditions that get barred from competing in sports are men with intersex conditions
Yes.
trying to compete in the women's category. It's not the other way around because of
Right.
course that gives women no women with intersex conditions don't have
They
I think
still
it's
can't
very rare
compete.
because most of them are debilitating actually, not all of them, but again, there's a whole series, and you can look at them if you want. But this has nothing to do. Intersex has nothing to do materially, now rhetorically, and propaganda wise, and manipulation wise, big sister bullshit wise. They
Right.
want to throw it in there, but it has nothing to do with gender ID. Nothing.
Right. And the intersex lobby was also infiltrated by the gender lobby. And people can check Alice Drager. What was the name of her book? Galileo's. I read it. No,
Finger,
Alice.
middle finger, Galileo's finger, or middle finger, or whatever
Something
it
like that.
was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. That was a really interesting book. Alice Drager is a bit of a bit of a genderist, but she's not on our side. She's not a turf. But that was a really good book, and she was part of the she was there when it was infiltrated, when the lobby tried to take over, and they did take over, and now every ILGA must be International Lesbian Gay Alliance, right? Every organization that deals with this kind of stuff is saying, oh, be careful, you've got to
Mhm.
include the intersex.
Mhm. It's
You know,
forced teaming. LGBTQ intersects are like NATO, man. They want to include everybody.
yeah, they really do.
Or well, not everybody,
Always
of course. They wouldn't include Russia,
targeting.
but it's just
Oh,
like,
wow.
oh, this helps us, so let's put them in there too. Now, are there people with intersex conditions that claim to have one of these bespoke special gender identities? Could be,
Yes,
but
yes.
it doesn't mean it doesn't follow from their intersex condition.
No,
Yeah.
no, no, no.
But Feminist War said this: the only reason.
Right.
Okay. So. Oh, here we go. This is how they want to. This is how they're big sistering these cheek swab tests. to make sure that you don't end up with women boxers being punched in the face, or being denied the opportunity, yeah, and having to be gaslit and all this bullshit. But anyway, so this is a clip from ILGA, whoever these people are.
Right.
This hate speech was fueled by a highly discriminatory, here you go, and violent practice in competitive sports, the invasive and harmful practice of sex testing.
Yeah.
Examination of genitalia, chromosomes, and hormone levels of women and girl athletes to try to prove or verify their sex.
And this is
okay,
all fake
Go
too.
ahead. Do you want to dissect this big sister bullshit, or shall I?
Well, I don't know. I'm sure you'll do a better job than I will. But this is fantasy. This is where they're fantasizing. They're scaring us. They're describing this kind of torturous strip searching, which never happened, and doesn't, as long as when sex isn't, when self ID doesn't exist, you don't even usually need to do that, because you can tell if it's, if you're a woman and your ID says woman, then why do you even really need to test?
And it's just the lies, yeah. So here's first of all, a cheek swab is neither violent, it's not a violent practice. And if you have a category, the reason why we have categories is to keep certain people out.
Yeah, that's the ugly truth, right?
So here's the thing. So it's like all categories, but like, no, we have the reason why do you have sports categories between adult and children, professional and amateur, men and women? There's a reason. Yeah. And so usually people will abide by the categories, but sometimes people don't. Or you could generally, I find this hard to believe for adults, you could, I guess, in principle, have a dude who doesn't realize that he's a dude. I doubt that, but whatever.
Because he's crazy or developmentally delayed or something, had a traumatic head injury. Right? Because that's the only way you could actually believe.
Yeah, I'm not. Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, there's people who we can convince ourselves of all kinds of things, obviously. So who knows?
Yeah,
my understanding is, and it's not like all women, all people, like. We'll use boxing because that's fresh in people's mind, or could be from the Olympics when there was the two males who were claiming to be who were allowed to compete in women's boxing at the Olympics because of this bullshit. Oh, we can't do sex testing. It's bad. Well, and they found out that these two boxers had been denied. They weren't allowed to compete against in the women's category at I think it's the World Boxing Association or whatever, the WBA or something like that. And what you found out is that someone said something, or raised an issue. And so they were asked to do this. Now, they can't be forced to, but my understanding is that on the just to make it as fair as possible. So let's say that they do the swab test and it comes back with the positive for the Y chromosome. Yeah. Right. If someone wanted to have an issue with that, and again, I don't know. I'm not an expert on every single intersex condition that women can have. I guess there could be one where you get a Y thrown in there. I don't know. I don't think so, but whatever. So, but just to make it as thorough as possible, for the people who want to do that, they can do this extra, they can also have a physical examination. No one's being forced. Yeah. So if you have a swab test and it comes back with a Y and you want to dispute that, then there are other things you can do, which is a gynecological exam, which women should have anyway. So the idea that this is crazy for that, or that they couldn't opt to have a woman gynecologist do this examination. So it's just bullshit.
It is.
It's not violent, and it's discriminatory on purpose.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that's the whole point. Don't get scared by these words. The bar will discriminate against serving people who are under a certain age. The bar will discriminate, at least in most countries, or I don't know, at least what I'm familiar with. You shouldn't do. If someone comes in and they look like they're totally off their butt already, you can say, no, we're not going to serve you. No. Yeah. Rated R movie, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. No, we've been evolving the
so it's just ridiculous. And the idea they say hormone levels of women and girl athletes. First of all, whatever. Like this is the bullshit. Like, this is for the women and girls. The only people this bullshit helps, literally helps, are men who, for whatever reason, are trying to compete in the women's category. That's the
Because
only
who
people
wants
this
to do
helps.
that? All
And
these
it
people, who
broadens because
wants to do that?
they can't accept any, they have to push this to the point of absurdity, because if they don't, then it all falls apart.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, they need
So
the
you get this kind of crap. Anyway, don't fall for it, people. It's
no,
not the sex test, which is what initially is just the sex of this a cheek swab, is not violent.
no. Only predators want to be where they're not wanted.
Examination of
Who wants to
genitalia,
be
a gynecological exam.
no.
Ooh, maybe
Women
we
have
shouldn't have any of
gynecological
those.
exams all the time.
Gynecology should be banned. What a discriminatory practice.
Yeah.
Those
God.
bigots, those
Okay.
sex fiends wanting to examine my genitalia. I
Well,
call bullshit.
you see how near to the fantasy, this whole, I mean, I don't want to get us in trouble, but you see how this fantasy is never too far away from this topic, right? Like it
Hmm.
goes into this kind of lurid fantasy very quickly. I just can't help noticing that every time. There's always 2 seconds later, it's dun dun dun. I am a victim, and you know,
Yeah,
kind of. I can't. I don't want
yeah,
to
you're the
attach
victim.
them. I don't want to connect. I'm doing my eyes
Yeah.
thing. You know what I'm talking about, right? The fantasy is never too far away.
Yeah. And gender ID in women's prisons.
Oh,
Let's see. We have
terrible.
a little update on this. So Redux, which is Genevieve Gluck, I think, founded this, and it's
And
a
Anna Spatz.
completely reader-supported magazine that focuses. Well, it's a feminist news and opinion, but of course, a lot of the time gets taken up on this gender stuff. And there's a thing that there's a Edna Mahan is a women's correctional institute or prison in New Jersey. And they've been covering this. They've been speaking with female inmates there for 2 years, and the extent of what they have had to face is horrific. So if you're curious about what gender identity, being nice to Tims in particular, and
Right.
affirming this notion that you can pick your gender identity, and that the severe body modifications, both hormonal and surgical, are somehow fantastic healthcare. If you want to see what this what it results in, here's one thing, and they've been covering this, and I just have a snippet here. Here's two stories. So one was in April 17th from 2022 from Redux. How to erase male violence, lesson from Edna Mann's women's facility.
Yeah.
This is from Genevieve Gluck, and she says it was recently revealed that there are 27 convicted male transfers being housed in New Jersey's only correctional facility for women, Edna Mann Correctional Facility. Among them is a sadistic, trans-identified male serving a 50-year sentence for the brutal murder of a sex-trafficked immigrant woman.
Right.
A sadistic pedophile who used his 7-year-old daughter to make transgender porn quietly moved to women's prison in New Jersey. So here's the fruit of gender identity legislation.
Sure.
You get men who's if they say they're trans and people believe it, or are just following the rules.
Yeah.
You
They
can't
don't, there's no
discriminate.
belief doesn't come into it. No one believes these
These
guys.
people, and you have the only correctional facility for women in New Jersey, and at the point of this writing in 2022, there was 27 males,
Yeah.
adult
All these
human
kids.
males,
Yeah.
being in this only correctional facility for women in New Jersey.
Yeah.
We're not
So
the ones who aren't nice.
that's, these women have been probably victims of male violence that they end up in prison. They're the most vulnerable women in society. They go to prison, and then these guys game the system, and they go to, and they're not tax fraud, right? Like they move. So for example, I don't know about the States, but I know that in Canada they move down to a different security clearance when they pretend, when they say they're trans, they move to the
Yeah,
different. I'm tripping over my,
yeah.
when they move to a different security clearance, and
Mhm.
the women's prisons, the security clearance is never never as severe as the men. The guards aren't prepared for that. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of like a lot of the counseling, like counseling groups where women come together,
Mm-hmm.
those aren't for male offenders. They are for female offenders. Male and female offenders are different. They have different patterns of offense and different ways of counseling them, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
having a guy in this group of women who've been raped, that's not helping him. And that's not helping anyone else. And then, there's even a statistic that I read. I'm not too sure where it came from, but that women who are like murderers they usually do it at the behest of a man. They usually have a male accomplice, right? So the most violent kind of offenders, these women who do it, usually have. So when you put a man in the woman, he's just finding himself another accomplice.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things wrong with it. The guards aren't prepared for that. Some prisons, I don't know about in the States, but some prisons have mother baby programs. Do you want a
Mm-hmm.
pedophile? You have your kid in prison. That's good for you. That's good for the kid. That's good for society. And then there's some pedophile standing there watching you. It's torture. It's actually torture.
No, they're
Women,
able to, especially with the AGP and people, if you know, autogynephilia and other things. Um, this is basically turning the whole prison into their fantasy backdrop.
yeah, rapists,
You know,
murderers.
and everybody becomes like supporting non-consenting.
Right,
We used to care about consent. Supporting actresses and
right.
this guy's, and I mean, can you imagine? Can you just imagine? I mean, the people who did not think this through, that
Right.
if most men, if they realize, and I'm sure this is spreading through like wildfire, so if men are for what can stomach, well, sorry, maybe that's a bit much, but be like, oh, if I can say I'm trans, then there's a good chance I'll get out of this prison and go hang up the ladies. Who
Sure.
isn't going to do that?
Why do I want to be in maximum security with these scary killers?
Mhm.
I want to go to the women's prison where it's all,
Mhm.
nice and calm and
Unless they're, except for those who have the who realize that's bullshit, or who wouldn't want to have to do what they would the minimum they would need to do to make it somehow believable. I mean, I wonder at what point, or maybe people don't care because, oh, well, it's female prisoners. Who cares about it? They
yeah,
don't
I
care
think a lot
about,
of
they
people
don't
don't
care
care.
about young girls
No.
losing out on their sporting opportunities and having to pretend that the guys on their team are girls. If you
I
don't
think a
care
lot
about that, they're certainly not going to care about women in prison
Well, I think a lot of men especially are happy to be like, yes, men are
unless
better
they're
at sport,
shamed.
right?
Mhm.
Right? Men are better at sport. Men are stronger, men are faster. Finally, all the feminists are admitting that they can't compete with men. So I think that there's a lot more support for getting men out of women's sports in the kind of men's rights kind of community.
Mhm.
Like there's a lot more support. Whereas a lot of
Mhm.
people, I think that women are in prison because they're bad. Whatever, who cares,
Mhm.
right? So I think it's a little bit of a harder sell than the
Mhm.
sport. They're both
Mhm.
really important issues, and men need to be out of women's spaces in both. But I see that people kind of, yeah, women in prison. Well, who knows why they're in there? Let's not talk about it. They're probably bad women.
Mhm.
Kind of women that you might not want
Mhm.
to ride an elevator with, perhaps. And so, of course, then you see the women in
And
sport,
could
and
there
these.
be a worse person to put in a women's prison than a male prisoner who lies and says he's a Tim and
Kidding,
gets in there?
a male convict. Like, don't.
Mhm.
It's torture. It's
Mhm.
torture. It's literal. It's actual literal torture. They're being, yeah, they're
Mhm.
being perpetrated. Women are being perpetrated on in prison, just
Mhm.
like it used to be in the
And
old
again,
days.
I think one of the reasons is because people think still, I think, unless they've had, if it's just if it's just in their mind, so it's just ideas. I think most people, we've talked about this before, every update that we've done, is that most people, they think of a Tim, of a so-called trans woman, they think of a very effeminate gay man.
Right.
Well, so and
Right.
and then it's like, well, my wife or my friend, she loves her gay friends, and what's the big deal? Now,
Right.
even if that were the case, men don't belong in women's prisons. So
Right.
I have no problem with people wanting to deal with the problems there are in men's prisons around rape and you know
No.
violent crime. Fine, but that has nothing to do with the women. Yeah, but the thing
Prisons
is, there's
do that already.
a lot of Tims are
Right.
not effeminate gay men.
No, for sure.
So just FYI on that. And I can see why
For
people
sure.
would think that if they didn't know. I mean, I know it's too much now. I probably thought that too. I don't know. I mean, I knew that a lot of transvestites were heterosexual, but I always had that being a different, if you just like to cross dress, then that was before people were saying, well, that because you're really a woman, on the inside. That's why you've been cross dressing. It's like,
My honest
okay.
feeling is that
Anyway,
regardless of
or
what,
whatever they say in the affirmation only domains of HR and what used to be psychoanalysis. I don't know.
yeah,
So another thing, I forgot to add this, but I forgot to add a tab. Another thing that we will probably do in our updates is flag any, transmaids. Um, and a transmaid is somebody who is a woman who really is all for, inclusion of Tims and celebrating them. So this person said, I'll play this in a minute. Thousands of women in quotation marks, haven't had downstairs surgery, but they have a female birth certificate. So what he means is, twig and berries are intact, but they have gone to the state and said, "Oh, I want to change my license or my
right.
birth certificate or whatever it is," which is sex falsification. So basically, this is legalized falsification, legalized fraud.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So
Totally.
because
Lies.
conceived male, born male, always male, regardless of what you say or do, that doesn't change. And it's obviously can be important, as we've seen, and in many situations or contexts.
Right.
But I want to play this just for the person who's interviewing him,
Right.
what how she is just like, well, you'll tell me what you think. Let me share my screen. So I'm going to share the screen. Share screen. Yes. Yes. Share. Let's see if this plays.
I call myself pansexual these days. Throw it in the
Okay.
pan. No, I'm throwing, no, meaning like it's about it.
Here we
I
go.
call myself pansexual these days. Throw it in the
Okay.
pan. No, I'm throwing, no, meaning like it's literally about the hearts, not the parts.
Mm,
You know,
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
thing. And like,
That's a
'cause
nice
you
saying.
can have a connection with somebody, and you might not be able to rationalize that connection,
Totally. Mhm.
but you could be absolutely besotted with somebody. You could feel that, you know what I mean, sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's recognizing that. So for me, that's where pansexual differs from bisexual, because it also includes non-binary and trans people.
Mhm.
The GRT process, there's thousands of men in this country that haven't had downstairs surgery, but they have a male birth certificate.
Mm.
Similar with thousands of women in the country that haven't had downstairs surgery, but they've got a female birth certificate. The world needs to catch up. So I call myself pansexual these days.
Okay. This woman's like, yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's
she's
a
so
nice way.
nice.
That's a nice
So
way of putting it. It's
And
like,
he's just telling on himself, right? He's like, why can't people be sexually attracted to me? Why? I want people to be sexually attracted to me. I'm sexually attracted to all sorts of people that I wasn't expecting I would be because I'm so blotto with, the corn addiction. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, right? I'm so blotto. I'm so far down the
Mhm,
road with my corn addiction that now I'm surprisingly
mhm,
attracted to all kinds of basically anything. Probably. I'm
mhm.
putting words in his mouth. But pan means everything, right? So he's basically attracted to everything. And why can't people be attracted
He'll put his female penis, he'll put his trans penis wherever. He's not he doesn't discriminate.
It happens,
And the people really need to catch up. The people need to catch up. And she's like, this stupid woman.
yeah,
Yeah,
hoping she doesn't she doesn't have to
yeah,
go on a date with him. Like, no, I'm not
yeah.
available after the interview.
Yeah, and each person that does that makes it harder for those of us who are like, no, we have boundaries. We're not gonna, if you want to, your fantasy life is your fantasy life. You don't get to uh um require affirmation there, whatever, you know what I mean. Boundaries are fine. If you want to do that, that's whatever. But this woman, yeah,
No,
I mean,
we're nice
God.
but really,
I
it's
mean,
kind of
I would love to talk to her. Like, what's really like? Was she really like all on board? Is she
Yeah.
that genderborged?
Yeah.
That this
No,
dude, clear? I mean, please. I'll call myself pansexual now.
it's a get thee behind me, Satan kind of thing.
Downstairs surgery.
She shouldn't be showing us. She shouldn't be modeling, listening to this man's sexual fantasy. She's just sitting there, humoring him like, oh, yes. Oh, ha, ha, ha. But actually, she should say, stop. I don't want to hear about whatever
Well, it's
sexual.
her show. She invited him on.
Yeah,
So it's not like it was, I can't imagine it was for some different topic.
could you invite
So
me?
now that we've talked about geopolitics and,
Right.
the kind of esoteria of whatever, why don't I can't help but notice that, I
No, you're
mean,
not allowed to notice. Are you of the trans persuasion? You're not allowed to notice.
yeah.
That'll get you €100,000 fine in Germany. You're not allowed to notice.
Yeah. So again, thousands of women haven't had downstairs surgery, but they have. So here's the thing. I mean, this is the most fantastic thing, and the state, the idea that it's whether you have male or female on your government document, not whether you're male or female, that determines who's male and female, or who determines who's a woman or a man. For when it's legally or socially relevant.
Yeah, I've got my papers. My papers say.
Look, no, I'm see.
Yeah, totally.
Ah.
They're so anti-establishment. They all love their
And
government
people
issues.
who are coming upon this, check it out. This could be already in your country, in your state, in
It
your
probably
school,
is.
your kids'
Unless your
school, the
country-
hospital, sports,
Right?
changing rooms, wherever.
I don't know where it isn't. What countries don't have this kind of thing?
I don't know.
Certainly
We'll
nothing
see.
in North America. North America's
And the idea that this, and also the people who want to pretend this is an isolated incident, that if you don't stand the ground here, which is already important, if you want to pretend that male and female are a choice, we get to self-ID in that. If you think that stops here, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
It's just like when you think censorship will only be for this group or whatever is going on here. Yeah.
No.
Anyway, who knows when this will burn out? Here we go. So
I don't know. They're trying to.
and also, of course, go ahead. Gender ID means that you can bully, cancel women who don't submit. Yeah, we've seen this over and over again. And if there's a law like this crazy stuff, so basically, if you have a place where a person can go in and say, yeah, my gender identity, I want to change, I'm male, or I was assigned male at birth, whatever kind of crazy language they're using, but I really feel, or they don't even have to say that. They just have to fill out a form saying that I want to change my gender on my passport or my driver's license or whatever.
I was born in the wrong body.
And then if any woman or any or it doesn't have to be a woman, but any organization or person that wants to say like, no, sorry, like, I don't like, this has happened before. I'll use an actual example. It's helpful. So I think it might've been in Canada, actually. I think this person was tearing a storm in Canada. I think it was Canada. Anyway, there was this one case, and there's been I think this Tim has sued more than one business. So as you can imagine, a lot of spas that do waxing and whatnot, intimate type of thing, are for women only. Yeah.
Right.
So it was a salon that had various services, but also had waxing, but they only this service was only available for women. So a Tim comes along because this person has, on their license, says, gender says female or woman, whatever it is. And this lady was like, sorry. He took her to court and won.
Oh yeah, that happens. Are you talking about the one in Vancouver with
I think
Jonathan
so.
Yee?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was Canada. Yeah.
He would target at home, basement kind of businesses where women, mostly racialized women, they were Sikh, and you know, I
Yeah.
think one lady was from Brazil. They were immigrants, they didn't necessarily, have jobs outside, and maybe from modest sort of cultures and religions where you're not supposed to touch men who aren't part of the family. And
Mm-hmm.
he would target them in their at-home business and call them on the phone and be like, hey, do you do women's waxing? And they, yes, we do. And then he would set them up so that they would either, wax his balls, which none of them did, or he would try to extort money for them. And then he took them to the Human Rights Tribunal and put them through hell. But luckily there was Justice Center, some free lawyers, a constitutional kind of law firm that does these sort of cases that represented them, and they won.
Or did they win? Oh, okay, good.
But the tribunal, she wasn't the judge. She was like the member, the head, something like that. She wasn't buying any of the arguments about, how you have to have special skills to wax testicles. It's not the same as waxing a woman's genital area. The skin is different, and the heat temperature has to be different, and you have to have like 10 hands to hold. Anyways, it's not the same thing. So that Devin, what's her name? I don't remember her full name, but she wasn't buying any of the arguments until the clever lawyer was able to bring in all these examples of how this Jonathan Yaniv had been a total racist and had targeted them because of their race. And he'd been, he'd call them all sorts of names, not just those women, but people of the same racial background. So finally, I think the oppression ladder, or whatever they call it, that must have like blitzed her mind out, and she had to give up. She couldn't withstand the the fact that he was a racist as well as a sex pervert. Like, come on. But sure,
I mean, and this just really highlights the problem when you open up the door to this stuff, this Pandora's gender box.
No kidding.
Pandora's gender ID box. So dudes can be like, can you imagine what a thrill this must have been for him?
Oh yeah.
Because either way he wins, yeah? He gets to make them uncomfortable.
Right.
And that is nice. Or someone might actually do it, and that's nice for him. Yeah. Or he gets to, extort them or get all this attention for being some sort of, Tim Rosa Parks or something. Like, I'm not going to be told you won't wax my lady balls.
No.
I'm not. And we got to close Pandora's gender box. And I realize that sounds pornographic, but, there's a reason. A lot of the reasons why we have to close the box is because of that.
Just can't avoid it. We can't avoid going there. But no, there's been a lot of cases in Canada with TIFs too. Trans-identified females too have brought cases to the Human Rights Tribunal because, they've been misgendered. They can't. The thing is, so if a woman is pretending
gay
to be
men don't accept them. When push comes to shove, I mean, maybe I'm not speaking for all gay men, of course, but my guess is that most gay men prefer men. But that's a radical idea. I don't know.
Crazy.
Maybe all this time they just really wanted women pretending to be men. Maybe that was the
the manliest of all men.
Yeah. So anyway, we have a segue because we're going to do three things with the next one. With if I can get her on here. Oh crap! I took it off. That's what I did. Lierre Keith.
Oh, yeah.
So she's an OG. She's one of the original. We're probably a general now, but that's sex specific. Of the sex gender battle. She was one of the first people trying to sound the alarm. Her and some others, about this. Yeah, 2013, maybe even before. So there's three things we're gonna do with Lierre. We want to shout out Lierre because she's an OG. She's awesome. She's OG in a good, best possible way. Top G.
Yeah, I totally
top FG, top feminist gangster. And it draws attention to the German self ID thing that's coming on
Right.
line. Self ID, just self. You just get to say if a guy, if Stefan says I'm a woman, then he's a woman,
Right.
and or she's a woman. I don't know, whatever
Right.
it is. That's where we are because of inclusion and progress, and I don't know whatever it is. Because it's violent apparently. If you treat a male like a man, it's violent. If the male, for whatever reason, would prefer to be regarded as a woman. I might get confused. But I'm told that's my fault. Anyway, I'm working on it. I'm gonna learn.
Struggle session.
I really am.
Yeah.
Yes. Any day now when someone says 2 + 2 is 5, I'll be yes it is, sir. Or ma'am.
Yes,
Sorry, ma'am. Sir, ma'am.
It's ma'am.
Sir. Anyway, so here's Lierre Keith. So let's see. Listen up, boys. This is the sound of women saying no. Raise your voice too. November 1st, 12:05 p.m. German Embassy, Belgrave Square in London. But also there are going to be women protesting in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Boston, Las Vegas, and Washington, D.C. It's not the 11th hour. It's 5 past midnight, more below. So Lierre Keith also, I think she won the founding members of WOLF, which is Women's Liberation Front, which has been on the forefront of trying to close Pandora's gender box. Sorry, I'm going to keep on saying that. I'm happy about that. I mean, not that it's open, but that... metaphor, I don't even know what the word is. Anywho, so yeah, but anyway, she yeah, let's see. So I want to say, what do I want to say about her? I'll say a bit about her, but she's 3 things. So she's been monstered, she's been canceled, all kinds of things, because her main focus, while she's always been a feminist for a long time, and I'm kind of a militant one, I guess that word's fair. It's not what she spent, like her professional activism was more broad than that. But since she's been has the gall to basically, she was basically standing the line on women or adult human females before Kelly J. Key and others came up with the billboard, and that became kind of like a thing, a symbol for in the sex gender war.
Yeah, she's wearing her T-shirt there for sure.
Yeah, she is. But anyway, just for those who don't know, she's an American author, a radical feminist, and environmental activist, best known for her critiques of industrial agriculture, animal agriculture, and modern food systems. She is also recognized for her strong opposition to veganism, which she once practiced, I think, for maybe 2 decades, but later rejected, writing about her experience in the book, The Vegetarian Myth, Food Justice and Sustainability.
Right.
In that book, she argues that health, ethical, and environmental benefits often associated with veganism and industrial farming, basically asserting that they're both unsustainable and harmful, etc. And that's so she so the vegans, especially like the capital V vegans, who are like where it's an identity and like a crusade. She's on their shit list. Also, let's see.
Because no one would eat meat if it wasn't for reading Lierre Keith's book, right? Like every single person sitting in front of a plate of steak is only there because Lierre Keith pushed him to do that, right? It's nothing. So they're dying to pick on someone, and they see Lierre, and she's like this bright light, and they just.
So she's a proponent of what they call deep ecology, which emphasizes the inherent value of all living beings and the importance of dismantling its industrial civilization to restore ecological balance, so kind of like neo-primitivism in a way. She's affiliated with the radical environmental movement and has co-authored books with Derek Jensen, who's also a prominent environmentalist and critic of industrial civilization. Together, they critique modern systems of oppression, especially how they impact human society and the natural world. In addition to her environmental work, Keith is known for her controversial stance on gender and radical feminism. The controversial stance being that women are adult human. The only people who are women are adult human females, and the only way you become women is to be a girl and make it through puberty, or go through puberty. She's a vocal critic of transgender activism and has been involved in feminist groups that emphasize the importance of biological sex and feminist analysis and politics, basically just the importance of biological sex. These views have led to both support and opposition within, not just, and this isn't just between her and Tim's and in the so-called trans community, but feminists have really gone after her as well, because we've seen a lot of feminists, for whatever reason, go along with this. A lot of Butlerian, I don't know, grad school gender studies people. So her work spans sustainable agriculture, exploitation of animals, feminism, and politics, and the broader critique, etc. So she's and I want to call out two. I don't want to say seminal, ovarian. I don't know, ova articles, but it's fine. Seminal. So this is in June 2013, and it was in Counterpunch, and I have the link over there. And Lierre Keith with Derek Jensen wrote an article called "The Emperor's New Penis," and I suggest everyone should go read it, but I'm just going to do the first little blurb here.
Right.
So men have been silencing women for 10,000s of years, and it's still happening. At the Law and Disorder Conference in Portland, Oregon on May 11th through 12th, 2 women were peacefully tabling. And that just means you have a conference, everyone has a table, you have your stuff there. Yeah, people can, we know what this is. Handing out literature and selling books from our organization, Deep Green Resistance. When this was going on, a group of 5 queer activists came up to the table, and one of the men began shouting at the women using aggressive language and threatening gestures. He grabbed and defaced the table materials. When one of the women went to protect the materials, he marked her arm and hand as well. This conference states it has policy of safer spaces, but safer spaces evidently doesn't apply to women, because although most people in the room had no choice but to hear the shouting, no one, including the organizers, this is back in 2013, intervened to stop this man or his aggressive behavior. Half an hour later, a male DGR member, so Deep Green Resistance member, tried to engage in respectful conversation with these queer activists. They began insulting him and escalated to throwing trash and food at his head. Apparently, the safer space doesn't apply to men either. Now, this is a long article, and but they were raising alarm in 2013, and they go on to say in this article and the other ones that, if you look at their work, the critique of transgenderism back then and the direction it was going, both of them made maybe a couple of statements, but that was enough for these people want to come after them. Yeah.
Right.
And so it goes on, and it's a great article. So they were trying to sound the alarm in 2013, and a little while, I think it's the same year, they wrote another article. So it's Lierre, Derek, also Max Wilbert, and they also. Anyway, I don't want to get, I'm going to leave the environmental stuff to the side. It's time for all of us to stand up against Big Sister. So this is, I wasn't the first person to start saying, talking about Big Sister gender speaker. I probably was inspired by this article again in 2013. This is from Feminist Current.
Right.
And it starts off, okay, hands up everyone who predicted that when Big Brother arrived, he'd be wearing a dress, hauling women who refused to wax his lady balls before a human rights tribunal and bellowing, "It's ma'am." No, George, stop being cheeky and put down your hand. We know you wrote, in quotes, "War is peace, freedom is slavery, ignorance is strength." And you also wrote, "It's a beautiful thing, the destruction of words." And you wrote, "Doublethink means the power of holding 2 contradictory beliefs in one's mind simultaneously and accepting both of them." You wrote this as well. "The Minister of Peace concerns itself with war, the Ministry of Truth with lies, the Ministry of Love with torture, the Ministry of Plenty with starvation. These contradictions are not accidental, nor do they result from ordinary hypocrisy. They are deliberate exercise in doublethink." End quote. Yeah. We know you predicted postmodern nonsense, writing when you wrote, "Reality exists in the mind and nowhere else." And we know as well that you had one character say to another, "How can I help it? How can I help it see what is in front of my eyes? 2 and 2 are 4," and it goes on. Right. Anyway, geez. So and I mean, yeah, both these things. These are 2. Maybe I don't know. It's about 2013.
This
and sadly, so people. So go ahead. People were trying to sound the alarm, but they lost. Yeah. So they lost publishing deals. He couldn't get. Derek had trouble getting his publisher. All of a sudden, didn't want to publish a book
Right.
that wasn't on this really at all.
Right.
And Lierre in particular has been hounded for over a decade now
Right.
by cosplaying Antifa people who wherever she goes, if it has something to do with feminism, especially this issue, they show up and just are just total dicks.
Yeah, totally.
And for what? Because she's not. She won't say 2 + 2 = 5. She won't say that men can be women. Or women
Right.
can be men. Sex matters,
Right. And
etc.
I want to say Lierre. I don't think that Lierre Keith is one of these people getting rich off genderism. She's not one of these pop-ups
No.
who all of a sudden have all the answers, and part
Mm.
of the answers might be that yes, some people are really trans and some children are really, she's not one of these people. She's the real deal. She knows all of the literature of the
She
women
knows
who
all the bullshit and how to debunk it.
Yes,
I mean,
she knows
because it's
all
so easy, because it hasn't changed. The debunking hasn't changed. What we've had to do, and people like her and us who
Right.
came on later, is having to keep on having to deal with or figure out how to deal with all the BS coming the other way.
Right. Yeah. So Lierre is the real deal. Wolf is the real deal, right?
Yeah. And I want to say, so if you want to, you can check out Woman's on the screenshot here. You can see the 4 X accounts, X/Twitter accounts, including Women's Liberation Front or Wolf, and you can support Lierre. Yeah. So yeah, I just want to, because it's kind of like it was a nice segue. Unfortunate because she's shows the solidarity, because this is going on in this crazy laws being passed or coming into force in Germany, but there's people are protesting or registering their dissent against this, and also she's been she's taken all the slings and arrows
she sure has.
for standing up and just basically like, no, women are women. Sex doesn't change. You can call it a different word, but it's still, whatever. So yes, what else do we? So just to go into what the self-ID law means, that's coming into effect in Germany November 1st.
It's the craziest one we've heard of yet. It's
okay.
the most wild one yet. And didn't they do something with pedophiles not too long ago? We have to check Redux. Sorry, I
can't keep up.
I get confused. Yeah, I can't keep up.
So let's see. Self-Bestimmung Gesetz. On November 1st, the German self-ID law will come into force. It abolishes sex in law and replaces it with gender identity. So all the people who I remember when there was people like I think that was the title of Karadansky's book, The Erasure of Sex. Like, oh, you're being crazy. No, in Germany, it's gender identity. Yeah. So not sex. I mean, whatever. It's gender identity. Okay, crazy.
In Canada, in the government website, it says that a woman is a feeling. That's on our government. It says that.
The woman is a feeling.
Yeah, it's it's a little bit more involved than that, but they certainly don't say it's a sex class. No, men is a sex class.
Yeah, and there'll be women like that Transmaids, sorry, like yeah, women are well, I'm a woman and I have feelings. Women are feelings.
Right. So ridiculous.
I mean, and I can only imagine the feelings that people who use that excuse, the guys who associate the feelings they have in their head as being indicative of them being actually a woman. I can only imagine that I probably not have had similar feelings or images in my head, but who knows? Just gonna go out on a limb there. Any man can declare himself to be a woman with no restrictions, nothing. 3, the gender entry can be changed every year. So you can you get to pick you can change your gender once a year.
It's crazy. That is literally insane. That is insane.
Well, it's a feeling.
That is insane. They don't put any kind of restrictions on anybody. Every year
Yeah.
you can.
And I can't imagine this because no one in German, there are no Germans know how to say no anymore.
How is 9? It's 9 Germans. I'll
I
tell you how
mean-
to say it. 9. Even I know that. How can they have any kind of continuity? How can the police? I mean, how are they going to classify this? You change every.
But it gets better. It gets better because because male and female, pasha. I mean, whatever. There are 4
So
options.
boring.
Female. Well, that's a sex, yeah, but I guess this is the thing. You can't make sense of these people because gender, sex, they go back and forth. So female, okay, that's a biological category, but whatever. Male, diverse, or none.
And diverse means exactly what there? What does that mean there?
Oh, whatever.
Diverse.
It's like the plus, but none.
Any definition?
I'm an
Diverse.
alien.
Yeah, well, but what sex are
I'm from
you?
an alien species that has no sex, but we have feelings,
Yeah,
and we call those something.
You have sexual feelings, but you have no actual
diverse.
sex.
That's why we have. I mean, this is the thing. It's like if it's gonna be. That's why we have to really find an angel investor for our gender ring. And I'm talking, and I mean both rings. Two, wink, wink. 2 types of rings.
What if the moon ring tells the truth about my sex, but it's not what I want? Then what? Can you imagine? Oh, it's blue. It's blue. I don't want it to be blue.
I feel blue today.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to insert something into something. I have a.
Better turn on the corn.
Mm.
Get my urges met.
Yeah. Okay, so the law punishes calling a man by a fine of up to 10,000 euros.
That's a lot of money, right? I don't
misgendering. Yeah, no, it's not. It's more than $10,000.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is in Canadian coin.
Oh God.
The law. So 5 in the German self-ID, Selbstbestimmungsgesetz. Oh yeah. Okay, this law will distort sex-based statistics and sex-based quotas. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
It will allow parents to change the gender entry of their children from birth at any time.
That's abuse. That's abusive. That birth certificate is for the child. It's not for the parents' gratification. It's not for the parents' mental issues. That birth certificate belongs to the child.
Yeah.
That's abuse. That makes me angry. That's total abuse. And you'd think the Germans would know this. Aren't they the ones who kept such careful ledgers of everything? And now all of a sudden, like, to hell with it, right?
Let's not be burdened by what has been. Okay. Let's see. From age 14 on, minors will be allowed to define their own gender entry. Oh, fantastic. So this also is a segue into, I bet this will happen at school. And then you'll have like a thing about, they'll want to make sure you have your options. And then you get to pick your gender entry.
Hopefully people
better wake up.
You know what? I keep
if you think it's good that if you think it's good that the state can be used for this, then you're an idiot.
Yeah, no, it's ridiculous. But I have to say, I keep hearing anecdotal accounts of kids who are done with this. The countries that might have started earlier, and the kids are like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore, Mom. And I used to think that, if all of us middle-aged mothers would go to school with a non-binary they-them t-shirt on, all of the kids would just give it up. They'd be like, yeah.
Well, hopefully this is, I don't even know. If parents refuse consent, a family court can decide against their will. Nice. If you normalize the fiction of being able to change sex, you encourage harmful physical interventions. Yeah, this is true.
Yeah, that's true.
You're affirming the fantasy. Yeah, you're going along with this idea that you can change people, and this is the thing. And I think why a lot of Helen Joyce made this thing in some, I don't know who she was talking to, but I think it was really it's a key point that the parents that went along with this, or the significant others of people who went along with this, and played into the fact that you'll be accepted, you'll be whatever, really have to go all in now.
No, they can't go back.
Yeah,
It's like
they can't go back.
It's like spending $2 million on a teardown, and then you're stuck. What are you going to do? You have to tell yourself, oh no, the foundations just need a little work. Oh, no, this wasn't a bad investment.
Yeah.
Except it's worse because once you rearrange your genitals or stop your puberty, you can't get it back.
No.
Once you have a micro penis, you will never have a
Yeah.
normal sized. I regret even starting to say this, but you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah,
it's
well,
just,
no, it's true.
you
Blocking
can't
puberty. And also we don't have time to get into this in this update. But just how ass backwards things apparently happen in medical procedures. So now so more and more, it's like there's people are starting to rein in putting people on puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones and the things. But you would think that, so because I always, this is again, we can't assume. I always thought, at least, and since these things became institutionalized and regulated, that there was a process. Yeah. So if you like that, and maybe people thought that as well. So it's like now, like, oh no, we see that puberty blockers have all these effects, or the hormones have these effects, or you see how just barbaric and genderstein these surgeries are, and it's like, but why was it just presumed that they were therapeutic or beneficial? Or the whole, I mean, now you think, oh no, now this state or this country they're changing their regulations or adding more. It's like, and just the idea that
Right.
I can take my 4-year-old or my 6-year-old or my 7-year-old and start getting them on cross-sex hormones because I want to quote unquote transition them, or I think I mean, it's just batshit crazy.
It is totally crazy. Chemotherapy drugs.
It's like, so first we're going to have like 10 years of this, of 12 years of affirmation, and then like gender care and, puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones and the surgeries. And now it's like, oh, wait. It's like, well, what?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's just that they can do whatever they want unless somebody says no, and then they have to go through these procedures. I mean, I don't know. But this should allow everyone to thing is, and not that we should, not trust anybody, but these are surgeons, these are highly trained people in a variety of fields who have signed on, pretended, or bought this stuff.
Because they're
And it's not-
sociopaths that they like to cut into people and they like to experiment. I can't imagine any other possible explanation. I mean, I just can't. I think that there's a lot.
But
of
it's surgeons, but it's also regular doctors, psychiatrists, parents, friends, teachers, hospital. I mean, there's the money. There's the money, and I get that surgeons like to cut, and it's like, oh well, and then who knows what tell yourself. But just this whole system-wide. That's why I like the term genderborged. I mean, it's just like what? What?
It's terrible. But you know what? I think don't you think this would be true, that if we stopped falsifying legal sex and we made a super hard and fast rule that no men can go into any women's spaces, categories, services, and we just said no, 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 then all of this would disappear, because how could even parents, they would realize there's no future in it. I mean, the crazy parents that want to tune out their kids, they would realize there's no future in it. The reason this is all happening is because we won't protect women's spaces, categories, words, services. We won't protect them. If we would just close the door on that once and for all, nope, you get caught in the women's toilet, jail.
Well, yeah, I think that it's this weird thing about personal choice. Like, if we're going to really go to the extreme of personal choice, you get to choose how you're treated by institutions, and then compel other people to treat you. It's like when it has no basis in reality.
Right.
It's crazy. Like, no, this isn't individual. This isn't, you can call this individualism. You can call this choice. This is something else. And the idea that these things, and it's just another example that if you push anything, even if it sounds positive, to the extreme, you get into these weird perversities.
Oh yeah.
And just unfreedoms. or whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I think if it came to the thing, like, look, even if we said, okay, if you're an adult and you want to do this, it's fine. However, people aren't obligated to go along with it. So if you want to change your name and all this, I mean, to me, the kind of going back, if it's even possible, and if this, maybe my understanding was wrong. So when it used to be called transsexuals and it was a much smaller thing. So it's like, if somebody, after whatever the rigmarole used to be 2 or 3 years, they really want to go through this stuff.
Right.
But you don't get to falsify, you don't get to, if you don't get to change your legal documents.
No. You got
And
to
you
take
don't
that.
get, and you don't get to, we're not going to pretend that gender identity is that we're not going to pretend that there's two types of women, female women and male women, and we're not going to pretend there's two types of men, male men and female men. We're not going to do that. But if you want to change your name and you want to, dress how you want to dress, whatever. But fine, you shouldn't be discriminated against from, like housing and all this other stuff.
No.
But for the rest, we're not going to pretend that there are male women, and we're not going to pretend that there's female men. We're not going to do that.
If you're too scared to go to the men's toilet with your body in that state, dressed like that, that's your problem.
Then you'll have to hold it, or you'll have to go to a single stall bathroom.
Figure it out.
There's a lot of people who just don't like going to public bathrooms, who will either hold it or they go to the single stall ones. Lots of people.
Yeah, of course.
So if you want, that thing is, it's like you gotta pro con this. Yeah.
Totally.
And I think even with that would reduce it. Yeah.
Totally.
And then you get it out of schools, especially younger schools, and they want to, under the pretense of inclusion, introducing this notion that that everyone has a gender identity that may or may not match their sex, and that changes, and that I mean, whatever. Because this is so great, because I love how they say you can change your gender in German law. You can change with this law goes into effect, or when it does, once a year you can change which gender you identify as. And this also implies something. It's like, okay, this is fine if it's just in some. I mean, it's not fine, but to the extent that it's just people messing around at what they feel. But if you go in and have some of these surgeries and you change your mind, hard to go back.
Yeah, no, what can you do?
If you cut stuff off your body, hard to go back.
No
Your
kidding.
penis will not grow back.
No kidding.
Your uterus will not grow back.
I have a friend
Your
who's
breasts will not grow back.
She says she sees so many young women with, who can't urinate from the right spot because they've had the rearrangement surgery, and now their urethras are pierced and strange. They're not. It's not pretty. It's a lifetime of hell. It's a lifetime of hell. For what?
I think it's the same thing, that we know that people we're susceptible to become obsessive and fixate on things. And I think the same thing when I see people with they've everything they could possibly pierce, they have pierced, or where they cover their whole, including their face, with tattoos. Yeah. I think this becomes like an obsession, because no matter what you do, you're never actually going to be. Right. You're never actually going to transition physically.
Right.
Or mentally, in your mind, you can tell yourself whatever. So it's this constant, which is great for, medical, for people that make money off this.
Oh, totally.
Not so nice for the person who, and there was a story, and I don't know who said it. And it was somebody who, even though they shared this story as an anecdote, they still were trying to be, walk the line when it comes to the trans stuff. Still thinking that liberal, still believing people who believe that liberal Zionism is this thing, people who think you can somehow carve out some middle ground, between the people who would put laws together like this and the people like us who are like, what? But had a story that there was a person who wanted to transition, who identified as trans, and they had, went through the whole rigmarole. And this was even before it became so easy. to be officially recognized as the opposite sex, or I guess no sex as it would be in this one. So went through the therapy, had the signed off thing, the hormone stuff, the surgeries, and was waiting to get their I don't know if it was the birth certificate or the passport or something, that rather than having a female on it, had male on it.
Oh.
So this is from female to male rhetoric. And then, like a week later, after they got the legal document, killed themselves.
Oh.
And the person telling the story was trying to make a larger point. Like, and to me, I can't remember the point that he was making, but the point that I got from it is that because that was the final thing. Yeah, if you're really convinced in this, and this has become like a central thing, you're like, okay, first I have to, first I get myself okay. First I convince myself. Then I convince others, the people who have to sign off on this. And then I get on this trajectory. Okay, I'm going to change my name. I'm going to change how I dress. I'm going to maybe go on hormones. And then I get the surgery. And then the piece of the resistance, the last thing, the final puzzle piece is this. I get this official recognition that I'm now a man.
Right.
That happens, but yet all the stuff is still there. You don't you don't have this like transubstantiation experience like with the then so I'm not I don't I'm just saying that would be that was how I interpreted that anecdote.
Yeah.
Tragic.
Yeah, tragic. Really tragic.
Realizing that this was the last thing in her quote unquote transition, and then this happens.
Terrible.
And then you kind of realize that there's no other thing to wait for then.
Right. And then the industry probably spins it like, oh, you guys weren't nice enough and look what happened, right? This is all your fault.
Internalized transphobia. That's what
and if you don't let your kids do this, as soon as they finish elementary school, then they're going to do this too. And it's all a big spin, and it's all lies, and it's sickening. It's really scary. It's scary and crazy. End of empire stuff. What?
Yeah. So this is continuing on with what this law means in practice in Germany.
Right.
So in Germany already, before this even more free for all, more Twilight Zone. Female prisoners are already locked up with male criminals and including sex offenders. Not that female victims of male violence are already confronted with males in women's shelters. Men already claim access to women's gyms, locker rooms, and women's sports teams.
Yeah.
Lesbians already lose their female-only spaces and get harassed and threatened by males who don't accept same-sex attraction.
Yep.
Freedom of press already restricted. Referred to men is penalized.
Yep.
If they have a different gender that year, I guess. Minors are already exposed to body-damaging interventions through puberty blockers, opposite-sex hormones, experimental surgeries, and amputations on breasts and genitals, which they call gender care.
Yeah.
Hello. Doctors and psychotherapists already risk being punished for conversion therapy, in quotes, when they don't affirm gender identity claimed by a child or adolescent. All right. So again, there's going to be November 1st.
It's probably international. People
if you're in the UK, there's going to be people voicing their concern by the German embassy in London on November 1st. And there's also other protests being organized in the United States and maybe in other countries. So check at Women's Liberation Front, Women Are Real.
Local German embassy or consulate.
Yeah.
And say no, 9. Say 9.
Say 9 to this precedent. It's like they can't say no, but we can say no, at least risk saying no. Let's see. So let's see. We're almost on 2 hours. I'm going to try to wrap up. Oh, I'm almost done. Just a couple funny things. I mean, it's all funny, but it's sad. I don't know. It's funny and perverse and harmful. It's all these things. But here's so we'll end on 2 funny notes.
Yeah.
This is transgender women. This is this guy. Transgender women are better lovers than biological women. Both straight TikTok star. does not make you gay.
Yes, it does.
And I don't know why we have to. I mean, I mean, don't ask, don't tell is not good, but don't ask, like, or don't tell, don't care, like don't tell me, I don't care type of thing. So it's like, now, do I care that this guy has a Tim as a girlfriend? No, or
No,
whatever. But it's
no.
so hilarious. It's like, if if you're a dude and you're having sexual relations with another male, by
Right.
definition, that's homosexuality.
These are
Or
the
maybe you're
guys that,
bisexual. But this
right,
idea that somehow if the man has fake boobs and wears women's clothes,
right.
I mean, it's the most, and the people who want to tell us this is progressive, it's like reducing women to
Right.
tits and a dress. Fuck
No,
you. Sorry. Oh,
right.
sorry. Sorry. I'm
So look,
sorry.
this is your example of your
Sorry for
homosexual
the F bomb.
transsexual, right? This is your homosexual transsexual. Is this guy not making our lives hard? Yes, he is. He is, and his boyfriend is too. They're the
Hmm.
ones who are screaming and yelling at us because they want to live this fantasy where neither one of them is a gay man. And so they're screaming and yelling at us. And
Yeah.
and it's not just the heterosexual, it's not just the hetero men that
No.
that
No.
don't that
It's
make
true.
bad women. The gay,
Who don't seem to give a rat's ass what it means for others.
it's misogyny all the way around. And
Hmm.
this guy is probably on Twitter, attacking women,
And
doxing women.
I just also want to say one thing before we move on.
Right.
Photoshop.
Yeah, Photoshop is right. And also, hello, Daily Mail. So TERFs have been like, oh, yay, Daily Mail, you're reporting on our issues. Thanks. Please observe that Daily Mail is pushing this nonsense just to make a buck,
Hmm.
just to get views or whatever. I mean, they don't have to do this. If they were really
Hmm.
on our side, this isn't super
Yeah,
helpful.
I bet these people have an OnlyFans page, and I'm not
Oh,
joining.
right. No
Um,
kidding.
yeah.
Oh,
I
they're
wanna
good-looking
maybe I
people.
should start an OnlyFans page, but only for people who like being scolded.
You know what?
Or going to like lectures. I'm like, here I'm going to do some political psychoanalysis, and you're
You
just
know
gonna
who your
listen.
clients would
And
be?
all those comments better be good comments.
Right? You would get the same kind of masochists that do this kind of thing.
Yeah,
They live,
I want a taste. I want some money. Okay.
yeah.
And this one I love is Billy Bragg's Selena
Yeah.
Parker. So here's a picture. Just living
Yeah.
our lives. We only want. Here's the whole thing. Like, rather than we only want to pee is like the mantra. I mean, I shouldn't.
Right.
I'm not going to associate it with the other
No.
things, but just
No.
living our lives. We only want to pee like everyone else. Well, everyone else pees with the same sex when it's out in public. So here you have pictures of three Tims, and they like there's this thing in in the Tim community online, at least trans-identified males, of
Yeah.
taking pictures in. It's like they go into women's spaces and then they like to take a picture, especially the bathroom. They like to post pictures of them in the women's room, which is
Right.
weird. And so you have this picture of these three Tims, and they're taking a selfie, and they have one of their legs, one of their man legs on the on the sink.
Right. Look at those
And,
long
so
man
Katie
legs.
Barker says, "Fellow ladies, have you ever put your foot on the sink in a public toilet to take a photograph?" And Billy or Serena Patrick is like, "It's the trophy hunter pose." And it
She's so
totally
right.
is.
Yeah. What a
And what
great
she means by that, for people who haven't been subjected to this, the people who like to go hunt big, there's a thing like, after you kill your, well, it can be elk and deer, but also you see it a lot with people that go and pay all kinds of money to go kill like elephants or tigers in Africa. And they
right.
go and they put their leg on the dead animal, and they're very happy. So this is what it
Yeah.
is. It's like, and
Yeah.
it's like the equivalent of, they probably did piss on the place, but, like marking your territory.
Totally. Well, that's, why do we have to share our spaces with men who would
So
do this?
sad but funny. A sad and funny.
Look at this middle guy's foot. Jesus Christ.
Anyway, so any final thoughts,
It was fun.
Tanya, about our sex gender ID war?
Yeah. Well, let's
Subtitle:
see.
What is Big Sister gaslighting now? The big thing now is that we used to think, or we thought that lesbian, there's only one kind of lesbian, so women who are attracted to women. But the
Right.
UN is telling us, oh no, That's
Right.
just one type of lesbian.
Well, I really encourage anybody listening to write to the UN, write to Reem, and tell her that you know what a woman is, and you support her initiatives to write these papers and do these studies. Write in, because she needs to hear from us. She needs to hear from normies. She needs to hear from people who
Yeah.
aren't. She needs to hear from people who are not. Echo. I hear an echo. Do you hear an echo?
No.
Oh, I hear an echo myself. Maybe my computer's tired.
We're almost finished. Yeah. So not everybody, and we realize this, not everybody is in a position, has the temperament or is in the position to say these things, on a live stream. But we can support the people who do, either with, if you don't have the money, and, I realize that times are tough, but with likes and with forwards, or just with the, like whatever, especially not, that helps, or to send a note or whatever you can. Obviously, we don't want to encourage people to who can't risk or handle the possible slings and arrows from saying basic things like women exist, girls exist.
No. For sure.
Yeah, but if you can do that, please, check out Wolf, Lierre Keith, Redux. Also, Jennifer Billick really focuses on the. We didn't call her out today. I mean, in a good way, but she'll get her special mention, focusing on the money and the on the capital and tech part of it. Anyway, Tanya, thank you.
Thank you, Tara.
Thank you, my partner in the TNT, Tanya and Tara. We're going to try to do this once a week.
Just fun talking.
Yeah, just to kind of, for nothing else, just cathartic. Like, you're not
crazy,
I'm not crazy, they're crazy.
Right? It's nice that you have this space for women to talk, right? I mean, I've done a few, but you've had lots of women on. I just hear this terrible echo and it's driving me nuts. But I really appreciate that you have a space where women can just talk, and that's amazing. Do you know?
Yeah. And if you're interested in coming on and talking with us, please let me know. Or you can just, if you have a suggestion or something that we should bring up, positive or negative, on the sex gender ID war update, do let me know. Tanya, I'll let you go because you are in the evening wherever you are.
Yeah, I sure am.
We also don't want Tanya to get canceled. I self-canceled, so whatever. I just don't want to get in jail, because then that would be bad. I think. Yeah,
don't go to jail, please.
Especially if there's some of these Tims in there.
Right.
Okay.
That's true.
Anyway, thank you, Tanya, and I will see you next time.
Yeah, see you next week. Bye.
All right, so this has been another Sex Gender ID War update with my special co-host Tanya. I always forget to ask people to like, subscribe, share, etc. This is the Morbid Symptoms podcast and Substack that I'm trying to do full time. So if you can support that, please do. Free, you can like, subscribe, share, follow, that type of thing. If you can support financially in any way, you can buy me a coffee, you can subscribe to the Substack. There's also a Patreon that I'm in the process of updating, getting all this stuff on there. The goal is to do 2 podcasts a week on this and other important morbid symptoms. The old is dying, the new has yet to be born. Now is a time of morbid symptoms and monsters, where they be cultural morbid symptoms, social, political, etc. We're talking about all of that with a bit of humor and some irreverence whenever possible. With the Substack, once a week, I try to get my theory on. So it could be, some ideological critique, some political psychoanalysis, some old school political economy, class analysis, etc. If you can support that, please do. The links to doing all of those things will be in the outro. And thank you. But please do follow it and subscribe. That's completely free. And on Substack, there's also free subscriptions, which means that you get to see all the podcast posts and the articles. But if you pay, then you get to comment, and I will respond to all comments that are related to the to the post. And also, once we get some, I'm glad that the free subscriptions are starting to increase a bit. Once I get a few more paid ones, then I will do bi-monthly something like this, Q&As, where we talk about, when people can give comments and Q&A, and we'll just have a chat about the topics that have been covered on the podcast and the Substack that week. Any support is appreciated. I want to do this full time. So please consider doing that. And thank you very much. I will see you next time. Oh, tomorrow. Sorry, I forgot. Tomorrow, Andrew McKay is coming on from the Marx Engels Lenin Institute. We're going to talk about how about how it's imperialism stupid. To focus on when we're trying to understand the nature of Israeli-U.S. relations, that we really need to focus on the we need to apply an imperialist minded framework. So Alexander's going to be my guest tomorrow to help me. We're going to discuss that, and he wrote a recent article on it. So check that out. Tomorrow will be 2 p.m. I'm going to start at 1:30 p.m. UK time, and Alexander McKay will be coming up around 2 o'clock to join. All right. Thank you, everyone. See you next time.